Okay, so let me start with announcements. While I'm in this mode, I probably always do the quiz first before I go in a different mode on Blackboard. So quiz 10, sorry, second quiz, February 10 lecture. So things that cannot be determined pre-attentively. So generally, mark with a certain color, we can do that. Certain shape, we can do that. Boundaries between two regions, we can do that. But it's kind of the interference between one and two that creates problems. And here, so that was the first question. Second question, what visual structure should display a dependent variable? Generally put the x-axis independent, the independent variable, and the y-axis the dependent variable. So the answer is y-axis, assuming it's available. Size and color, I mean, especially color is not going to be a good choice for most quantitative variables. On the visualization mirages, so choice of domain for axis, you saw how that can, the one with smokers, non-smokers, can, the domain of an axis can produce something like that. Basically, it's all of them. Data points overdrawn on top of each other. So I can have a lot of blue points that cover a lot of green points, and then the visualization looks like, oh, there's a lot of blue there. But in fact, you just don't see it because they're on top. The visualization, the algorithm needs to make a decision which one it draws first, and then comes back and redraws. A lot of times, does some sort of a loop of drawing. Aggregation of multiple data points can do that. You saw that right at the beginning, where we can have 2 points and we have the same bar chart as 1,000 points that look completely different, but they're aggregated. And then when we have missing values, it's going to be hard to make visualizations to convince the user, to let them analyze that fact that there's a missing value. So all of them can produce problems. And so with a single quantitative data point encoded as a rectangle, which of the following can create lying visualization? So 4b perceives something as 8. It's the one with the dollar and inflation, from an example from Tufte. So changing only the width, that's probably fine. Again, that's a lot of what bar charts do. Changing only the height, those were horizontal bar charts. These are vertical bar charts. They're pretty good at what they do. If we change both of them, then that's the answer. Like I said, and plus if you have 4 tries, then this is the only one that would put any problems to anyone. All the other ones you could have figured out easily just by trial and error. So let's see if Blackboard thinks, oh, I ran into this. Nice. It seems to be I don't know, maybe Firefox issue. I ran into the same issue on my computer today. I switched to Microsoft Edge and it worked flawlessly. Oh, that's actually, since I don't know what it is, to be fair, because this is Chrome, it's not Firefox. So if you run into one of these errors, why does it think I was? Oh, I think I clicked something else. Let's try it again. I'm just curious, very quickly. Lightning speed, lightning round. I'm not going to explain anything, just go to it right now. That was it. So now it worked. I think I clicked on a different. So I don't know, but like I said, I ran into this error earlier today, but right now I think I did something else on I have 2 screens, 2 windows. I think I clicked on something on the other window, is messed up Blackboard. but they should all be 1, 1, 1, and 1. Okay, so I did not lie to you. So that's just the quiz. I ran into this mode, the preview mode, and I think I clicked it on the other window, and it just confused Blackboard. But I was testing homework submission, and I ran into an error like that. In Firefox, I switched to Microsoft Edge, and it worked perfectly on it. So FYI, if you ever run into issues with Blackboard, just switch browsers. If that doesn't switch computers, go to a different computer, because normally it will take care of it. Okay, so that was just my quiz review. In terms of real announcements, I don't know, quiz is not a real announcement. Wednesday in Little Rock looks like it will be snowy. And being the south, probably won't be able to drive. Or you may be able to drive into a ditch easily. For those of you who are not from Little Rock, it's hilly, and actually in the last few years, the city runs plows and sand and stuff a lot more than it used to, but still there are places where you can go down into a valley and can come up from it when it snows. And many times it just it's hit and miss. You may have a good way, half the way, and then you kind of figure out that the other halfway it's undoable. And many times you just wait for the sun to come up and melt it. That's kind of the philosophy. Somebody typed something. So here is what we had 2 events this year. So yeah, normally since I've been in Little Rock, once a year is unusual, because there are years where you don't have it, or it just snows overnight, and if you wake up at 9, you won't find it. It's gone. But this one looks bad because it's going to get really bitterly cold after. So it will stay for a while. Again, long story short, here is what we're going to do on Wednesday. So we know from now you kind of make plans. If the university closes, I won't log on. I won't tell anybody to log on. Obviously, everything is pre-recorded, as if you have internet and power, just kind of go through the pre-recording stuff. If the university is open, I won't have anyone drive here. So I'll be online only, so virtual for everyone. Class will be closed if the university stays open. So we'll see how that goes. But that's kind of the plan for Wednesday. Assuming that the university is open, then the conditions are not as bad. And hopefully, even if you lose power again, the course is set up to run asynchronously. You can always look at the recording afterwards. But if it's kind of widespread, I don't know what the situation is going to be. And it's not going to, people not being here online, like I said, watch out for those announcements. So that's the important one. I'll post it out so everybody knows. So university is open, we'll do it virtually. If university is closed, we don't meet at all. Okay, so on the virtual lecture room, so we are starting the week of 17th, basically finishing lecture 2 and going to lecture 3. And then I have this 25 ways to visualize same data set, which may help with homework 2 now. I mean, homework 1, I wanted to be more open, use your ideas. Here is for homework 2, a little bit more things to do, to look at. So this represents different ways to look at the same data set. Some of them are just kind of cutting through different pieces, like only looking at male or female, or some. But there's, again, 25 ways for all of it. So these are the things that we're going to cover this week. And on the lecture slide, you can find lecture 2 right here, and then we're kind of moving into lecture 3. And I have this piece of software. The only way to use it will be with an applet viewer right now. I got it from I the original creator. It's explained more in lecture 3, but it he even had Verizon wanted to use this kind of like a search engine to try it, and so it was based online, but on Java based. And as you know, most browsers don't do Java, so the only way to run it is to have an applet viewer, and that may be available in a Java distribution. If you have a Java development kit, may be available there. I don't know because they keep changing. Java is just moving so fast. Almost every semester is a new version. Maybe they took out that. I thought I looked at it this semester and I couldn't find it easily. So. But anyway, if anybody wants to do this, it's there. Otherwise, again, pre-recorded videos, all of that. And I think there's a YouTube video as well. That might still be up there. I worked over the quizzes. Homework, I'm going to spend a lot more time on the homework today just because we have, oh, the other thing that I would do, I was thinking about it. Maybe I'll move homework. If the university closes, I'll probably, I'll probably move this to the 26th. So kind of give it 1 week. I may leave. So yeah, move this also to the 26th. Obviously, you can start evaluating before it's turned in. And I'll move this to March 5th as well. So there will be a little bit of an overlap between homework 2 and homework 3, like it is between homework 1 and homework 2 right now. But this one right now is by design. That one is kind of forced, will be forced if the university closes. So that's another thing I will do on for the next homework. But I'll talk about it today, and you have it, and then you can kind of deal with it, and hopefully you don't have to deal with power problems or internet outages. And so that should give a little bit more time for that. Now, let's try and talk about homework 1. So that's the easy part, in a way. It shouldn't take the same amount of time to build a visualization than to look at other people's and try and rank them. So let me talk more about the... so nowadays, if you submitted something, so here is another thing, I don't know, they don't ask me, which is normal. Blackboard programmers and user interface designers. But if you don't turn in something for one of these, they assume you're not participating, so it won't let you review. If you turn something in, and I hope most people did, but I've been in class since 1:30 today, and I've been in class in the morning as well. So if you turn something in, that you will see something like this. And I think that that's what people told me, because I normally don't do that. I don't go through this process. I don't want to bias it or do anything like that. But you can come in and change this at any time. So like I said in the beginning, I want this to be more or less anonymous. So people won't know who you are, who are reviewing, and you should know who they are. But you can click on a user. It kind of repeats all of this stuff. And you can see here a file. So this person submitted a file. I'm not going to click on it. Again, it gets recorded, so I'm not going to do any of that. But in here, you get to submit right at the bottom the number of points you want to give this user, and then feedback. Note that feedback is required. I'm not asking a lot, just 10 words minimum, 30 words maximum. But please submit some feedback and make sure it's personalized. So it shouldn't be the same thing to everyone.
Oh. You don't want us to give our name as a reviewer, right?
No.
No, okay.
Yes, Carol. You raised your hand. I assume you have a question. We can't hear anything. Let's see. I don't see a microphone on for you. What I'm going to do is lower your hand, but if you have a question, just ask. You don't have to raise your hand. So, any questions asked? I usually stop if I hear the chat or if I hear you talking. So the feedback needs to be personalized to that particular thing. I do kind of random checks. It shouldn't be personalized, meaning it's about that visualization, not your personal information. So it shouldn't be for everyone. Good job, nice. Can be that. Obviously, that's less than 10 words, but even if you have more than 10 words to congratulate somebody or to not congratulate somebody, it needs to be about that visualization.
Can you hear me now, sir?
I can hear you now.
All right. Yes, sir. So I looked at some of the assignments, and I was under the impression that it had to be one type of visualization. So, like, if somebody did bar graph, the whole thing had to be displayed on the bar graph. And let's say someone did heat map, everything had to be on the heat map. But I'm seeing different type of visualization for the same person.
I am not sure where did you get that idea that everything needs to be the same thing. That's many times that's the power of using two different things to look at something, so you get more information or more ideas. Um, is that what you're asking? Nowhere it says that if you do a bar graph, you have to do a bar graph, all of it. So
Yes, sir. I thought
you have all the freedom in the world.
that's my bad.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, the communication, let me increase my volume also. It's the sound quality. I don't know if it's the room or the computer or the internet, but it's a little bit not as great. Okay, so give some, it needs to be about the visualization you're looking at. And when you go to the next user, it needs to be about that visualization, the comment. So it can be the same thing, very general, or something that applies to everyone. That's all I'm asking. So feedback means feedback. And the other thing is also, if you look at it, 30 words is not the end of, I'm not asking for not even a full paragraph. It's a half a paragraph at most. So it doesn't have to be too long. It doesn't have, but at least 10 words. And if it's 31 words, I'm not going to sit there and count word by word, but I'll take a look, kind of at ballpark, and kind of see that feedback is more or less appropriate. So that's one thing. Make sure you kind of write the feedback in here, give the points possible, and then hit submit. I think save and submit does the same thing. But if you have to, click on both. So other things, more rules for this. Some people are really nice, and some people are really not nice. And therefore, I put in this constraint. You cannot give 4 to more than 2 people. Whichever 2 you think are the best, give 2 4s to that. You cannot give 3 to more than 2 people, and you cannot give 2 to more than 2 people and 1 for only 1 person. So make sure I actually do check that, and you're going to lose points for it if you're not paying attention to this. So I'll go back one. Out of the 7, only 2 can get a 4, only 2 can get a 3, only 2 can get a 2, and a single person gets a 1. Okay, so trying to kind of pull it up there. I guess good news is you can come back and modify this. If you see another, you can look at all of them first, or you can just do it one by one. But if you something, it's probably better. That's what I would do. Look at all of them first and then decide what to put in here. But you can always come back and change it till the deadline, until the deadline. What else? If somebody wrote their T number, name, it's a 0. I'm sorry. I wanted to keep it. So make sure the file name, like this file name is good. It doesn't have any, it doesn't say John's homework 1. And then the final one, 0, is for something that's massively missing. If the person missed one of the rows in the table, it's not a 0. You may rank it a 1 or a 2, or it's not an automatic 0. If you disagree with their approach, it's not a 0, as long as the information is there. And we can see most of it, then it's not a 0. Now, if they only showed one column out of 10, then that's the only thing in that submission, then that is a 0. If they put in their project proposal, it happened, their project proposal in there, it's a 0, because it's not about the homework. It's not the same data set. If it's last year's homework, it's a 0. So 0 is kind of exceptional. Sometimes I have people who take it very seriously and give a bunch of zeros to everyone. But it's an exceptional thing. Like I said, last year's homework, they turned in, by mistake, they click on the wrong file and they have the homework for, history of humanity in there. Or they're missing quite a lot of the data. It's just not there. Like if you disagree with the way they presented it, then maybe it's a 1 or a 2 if you disagree with a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's not a 0 unless it's kind of a massively wrong thing in there. Also, if it's obviously wrong and you don't give, I don't know. Just, I will, given the size of the class this semester, I might actually pull some of these and discuss them in class, try and see where we are, because some of them are good and some of them are very sloppy. Yes, John.
I wanted to say, yeah, like I would like to go over some of these, like maybe in class, because the one I submitted, I'll probably get like a 2 or a 1, because like a lot of these are really, really good. So I would like to learn maybe like how they did some of these. Like, I've been trying to use Tableau, public Tableau, and I've just been having issue after issue. But I see someone's used public Tableau, and theirs looks amazing.
Okay, so that's a good thing in a way. The grades, I will explain more on the grades. So first of all, I already explained that we need to go through this one time. So after we get the grades back from homework 1, it'll get a little bit clearer. But at least one of the 5 homework assignments gets dropped, the lowest one, okay? So that's one way to kind of have some sort of, because I know there's noise and even if I were to grade them, you would assume that I am, but I'll be biased like everybody else, and I may not understand what you've done like other people, but other people may, get you better than me. So yes, this one of them gets dropped. That's one way to deal with it. And I will show kind of the general way people, maybe not necessarily from this year, but I'll show you what other people have done. I'll look at this year. If I find something that's really good, I may put it in that slide deck, because I have a PowerPoint deck with different kinds of visualizations for this kind of data. This is kind of a special type of data. It's not your table with numbers data. So definitely that I will show. That's not a problem, but I will show it after you. I don't want to bias the reviews with my own biases, because over there I say, oh, this is a good one, I think, but and I don't want everyone to kind of jump to it. So I'll show that after the review for homework 1. Now, what I was getting at, I might actually pool some of the reviews and get your opinion. And then if I get a really negative reaction from the class, I might go and deduct some points that I I will deduct some points on the reviews no matter what, because I do quality control on it. I might not look exactly what you turn in, but I will look a lot more closely at how you evaluate it than how you create it. So that's what I meant. Last semester I had over 100 people. I couldn't do that. It was just. But this semester, I think it's doable to just maybe bring some of the reviews out. You know, what here is what somebody gave. Kind of take one person, keep their information private and random. I won't tell which person. I would know, but you won't know. And then kind of see how they reviewed that, because I already wanted to do that. So keep that in mind. So just maybe pick and randomly pick one or two people, maybe one. I don't think we have time for more. But this way, I keep a little bit more pressure on you to be fair and to be a little bit more thorough on the review part on this one. So the way the 4s and 3s and 2s and 1s get assigned. So I might do that. The other thing, since we're here and we're talking about 0, if you read what's written there, and I know I wrote it, but just to keep it, how can you interpret it? If you give somebody a 0, because, a deserved 0, that's what I mean. I assume it's deserved. But then you have a choice here. You don't have to give a 1, for example, because you only have 6 other users to look at. Or you don't give a 3, one of the 3s, or you don't give one of the 2s. So you have a little bit more flexibility if but if everybody has done their job, and then it's always going to be 2 4s, 2 3s, two number 2, and a single number 1. If you have a 0, then you kind of can look at your stack of visualizations and say, and decide not to give one of them. You obviously cannot give 7 to 6 people, so but no matter what you do not give more than 2 4s, not more than 2. You can give 1 if there's a 0 involved, but no more than 2 over there. So this way, kind of keep it a little bit more spread out, so it's not everybody gets a 4 or everybody gets a 1. I've seen both happen. Even with this, people don't pay attention. They still, although I spent so much time describing it, you won't believe how many, at least 5% kind of go through this process very fast and not read what's written there. Yes, you have a question?
How many people are involved in the class?
We have about 19. 19. Very small class. I mean, you can.
So
If you're ever curious.
you took care to make sure that you didn't assign the person who did it their own work, right?
Here, you can see how many people are in the class because I posted all of them.
Yeah,
So that's how many. And the other question was, I took care. Yes, I didn't take any care, but Blackboard does it. So Blackboard assigns, it has this idea of peer review homework. And if I click the right buttons, then you shouldn't get your own to review. If I didn't, then it's on me. In general, if I make a mistake and I give you more points, don't tell me. I might find it out later, but you're not required to. No, you're kidding, but I've heard interpretation that is academic dishonesty if you don't tell me that I gave you more points. And in my case, I tell you right now, don't tell me. You're not committing academic dishonesty. If I make a mistake in your favor, do not bring it up to me. Like I said, sometimes I may see it and change it later, but other than if I give you less or I make a mistake on the lows, I definitely bring it up to me. Don't wait until the end of the semester. You will see that I will fight you more as we get closer to the end of the semester than at the beginning.
so we will get feedback on our work, correct? We will get.
Some feedback, whatever the other students write in there. Some of it, like I said, there's a lot of noise in there. It's like Amazon reviews.
Thank you.
But like John just asked, you already seen 7 other people, so you should have a pretty good idea where you stand, where your work is. I think you're gonna maybe not see all the bads and all the goods in the class, but you're probably pretty close to kind of knowing where things are. There's 7 other plus you, that you already have 8 of these in your hand. So it's a lot of self-assessment. Like I said, homework, I'm trying to get you to build something. It's almost like doing a presentation in class. If you were taking a rhetoric class, have you present once, then you present a second time. So this for me is more, and I need to have some grade assigned because otherwise people won't do it. But it's a rehearsal. You kind of go through all of these, you get a little bit better, and then we can work on the project. The project is kind of the capstone where you can use some of the lessons learned, good or bad, from the homework. Okay, so I think that I kind of.
You would like us to have the reviews done by next Monday?
Now it's imperative you do them
By Monday or next?
by Monday.
By next Monday. Okay.
I'm not going to extend that. Well, I'm not sure if it'll allow me to extend it, to be fair. Like I said, a lot of these things here, if you don't have to trust me. Here is what Blackboard offers me. If I go to this one and try to edit it, you see that these are grayed out. There's no way for me to change the submission date. Once they pass, I cannot change them. Okay? The other ones, apparently this one I can change. You see, this date I cannot change either. So this one, sure. Let's move it on Wednesday, if you want to. And then I need to make sure that this one gets moved. Okay. So I'm not trying to, that's why I send reminders. It's really hard to, because it's time. I cannot fight time. The time passes, Blackboard intervenes, and it pulls me out of it completely. I cannot put anything in the review pool. I cannot take anything out of the review pool. It's whatever is there, it's there right now. So yes, so those deadlines make a lot of sense. Stick with them. One more piece of advice. I noticed, and again, Blackboard changes, so maybe they fixed this, but I noticed that if you go here to your activity, the homework discussions won't show up. So don't rely on the activity feed for the homework discussion. That's why I even send those messages, so kind of have to tell you that. For some reason, the review tool that Blackboard has, they don't think it's important to put it here. I don't know who decided. It's probably 2 different teams. One of them didn't get the memo, but it doesn't show up in your activity. So go to the actual course, click on the actual homework, and make a note.
So I don't pay attention.
Yeah, so this activity feed, I know because somebody told me and I checked and it's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't. So keep that in mind. This is not very reliable. Just go to individual courses, keep track, look for the announcements. And it's not only my course. There's a lot of issues with it. The other thing, mobile Blackboard is also kind of not 100% Blackboard. So don't rely on it. I mean, it's fine to use it when you're away, but keep from time to time spend a lot more time on Blackboard on a PC than in the mobile version. Okay, homework. We have the most important part is this one coming up. And since I'm changing, well, I already changed this one, so that's not. The thing that I'm trying to avoid here is my kind of train of thought. I want to be able to grade homework 1 before you have to turn in. Obviously, I cannot do it before you turn in homework 2 because they're overlap. But at least the review, if you lost some points on the review portion, on the evaluation dates, I want to be able to do it before March 3rd or March 5th. So you have a chance. I don't want people to do the same mistake twice. So if somebody gives 4 zeros to everyone, I want them to kind of have a chance to tell them, that's not normal. Don't do it again. I don't want, because if I'm not fast enough there, people might repeat the same thing. They understand the first one worked, possibly. I don't know, because you didn't get the grade yet. So that's extended. That's why I had a little bit of hesitation extending this, but I will extend this. I'm almost 9% sure that university will close, but we'll see. The school district already has early dismissal for tomorrow, so. Not the university. The university doesn't have that, but the Little Rock School District already sent a message out. They're closing at 11:30 or noon tomorrow. So that's why I think by Wednesday it will be pretty. I hope it's not, but it will be pretty. We'll know probably by Tuesday evening. So I want to do most of the announcements today, so you guys are ready no matter what the situation. So going back here, homework 2 is coming up in right now a week. Like I said, if the university closes, I'll extend it. And let's talk about this one. So Tufty was in the pre-recorded. I didn't get a chance to talk about it last time, but it. Let me check actually. Tufty is coming up in lecture 2. Yes. Okay, so Tufty will talk about it today. So keep that in mind. And let me go back to the homework. So this homework, it's slightly, all of them are slightly different. So pay attention to the grading criteria and all that. So this one, same thing, you need to click on question 1 to turn in everything you do. But on this one, it's some, and it's, don't use that in real life. The data is, I don't know, I don't verify it. It's some sort of infectious disease. I just put the name there. I already forgot what it stands for. So it's this virus, B board, or bacteria, and it has infections. And then the numbers are shown for US cities for a number of consecutive weeks. So let me open the file. And it's kind of, this data set is not good for, it's different, definitely, it's more, it's new. It's completely different than what we've done in homework 1. And it's long. If you look kind of through the entire file, there's 3,000 entries. So definitely not, you're not going to be able to do it by hand. So you need to use some visualization tool to plug in this data or to modify this data, so that tool will take it. But here, what we're seeing is different cities. Here's the year, and then the week in that year. So goes to week 52, and then the year 2020 is not, it only goes to week 10. So there's 62 weeks of continuous data in here. And apparently A is just a counter, so it's not significant. And then these are the cases, how you want to kind of look at them. for this week and for different cities. So it kind of keeps on going this way. But they all should have the weeks and 2019, full 2019, and only the first 10 weeks of 2020 in there. So on this homework, one thing I'd like you to do is kind of think of Tufte's principles. You didn't have to, obviously we didn't even talk about them, but you didn't have to think about them for the previous one. But for this one, there are points given just the Tufte's principles. Now, talking about Tufte's principles, it's good I already have that file there. Let me reopen it. So Edward Tufte, he has written extensively about visualization. He has at least he has more than 2 books out, but 2 of them were considered really kind of groundbreaking. And from there, I distilled, and again, just for everyone to keep a level playing field that we understand each other, it's only in this class. I don't think they are represented like that in the book, maybe structure slightly, kind of very soft structure. But he has a bunch of principles, and in those books, it always comes with examples that enforce one of these principles and examples that don't enforce one of these principles. I'll talk more about the principles when we go to the lecture portion. But for the homework, this is what I mean, the Tufte principle. There are these 5. Use these 5. Online, again, he has a lot of work done, and it's not necessarily you see it broken down into these 5 or at all broken down. But for the homework, that's kind of what I'm asking. Let's focus on, this is the slide. So when you get feedback from somebody, you understand what they say. And when you talk about Tufte in your homework, they understand what they say. So use these 5: maximize data to in ratio, avoid char junk, use multifunction in graphical elements, use multiples and show mechanism, process, dynamics, or casualty. I should change this to an or, really. It won't let me because I don't have enabled editing. But these are kind of the 5 Tufte principles that I'm asking about. And so I refer to this slide in particular, not any Tufte. Again, Tufte is a large area of work, but just everyone is on the same page. That's kind of what I mean by those principles when you create the visualization. And the second part of the visualization, basically would kind of the hypothesis is whether, I don't know if it's true, by the way, but is there any periodicity in these infections? For example, is there a group of cities? I don't know what the group is, your visualization, and you don't know it either. But build some visualization that allow me to look for it. So they, for example, experience an increase in infection for 2 weeks and a decrease for the next 2 weeks. So that will be a period of 4 weeks. And does it happen periodically, not just once? So it means, can we see a pattern kind of coming up? Or an increase for 3 weeks followed by a decrease for 2 weeks. So that would be a period of 5. That's another example. Those are just examples. So I have them for this particular data set. What I'm asking, the problem is really for periods of 8, 12, 16, and 20 weeks. I'm not interested in any other periodic seed. So I'm not interested in a 5 or a 4. I just want 8, 12, 16, and 20 weeks. So that's why I put them in bold. That's the focus of this homework, is their periodicity. Also, to keep it simple, assume that the trend happens midpoint. In other words, it's not like I go up for 2 weeks and go down for 6, for 8. It's always 4 and 4. midpoint. That's what I mean by midpoint. For 12, it's going to be 6 weeks and 6 weeks. It's not 10 and 2 or anything, because otherwise it gets a lot of possibilities, and I'm not interested in that. So always midpoint. 16 is going to be 8 weeks one direction, 8 weeks the other direction. And then obviously 20 is going to be 10 and 10. 10 weeks one direction up, 10 weeks down. So that's kind of what I mean midpoint. Keep it simpler, so that reduces it really to about 4 possibilities to look for. Some cities may experience 8, other cities may show 12, or other cities may show 16. And possibly, and very likely, that most cities don't have a cyclic pattern. And the visualization should show it to me that it's not a pattern there. Just like the first homework, use any tool that you want. Even if the tool builds visualization automatically, you can still think of Tafte's principles and apply them in different ways. That's 25 ways. That's why I have that video, 25 ways to look at the same data sets. That may give you some ideas there. So just like homework 1, turn in your best visualization. Don't let the reviewers pick the best one. And just like homework 1, a single solution may have multiple views because you look at different aspects. Each view may consider a different aspect of this data set. And just like all the homework, we're just going to go through the review process. Just keep track of your review process. Like I said, I might get back to you and ask you why I'm looking at these two and you gave a 4 to this one and a 1 to this one. Why? Give me your reasoning. You may have a good reason, just make sure you don't forget it. So as long as you can argue it, you're fine. So submit that. So all of this is exactly like homework 1. Submit it. Use something that people can easily look at. Imagine, always assume that they're going to do your review at 2 a.m. So make it not too overly complex, but not as well that nobody understands, that they kind of have lots of questions. And the different part would be that there will be 2 different criteria to answer. One is going to be Tafte, and then you can give a 0, a 1, and a 2 for Tafte. So if no Tafte principle is really implemented, then you're going to give a 0. If you notice 1, but no more than 1, you give a 1 and write the name in the feedback. If you notice 2 or more, just give the 2 more, obvious ones that are implemented. So this way, I know, and the student who submitted the paper knows it. So that'll end up with being a total of 2 maximum here. So not very complex. In a way, it's not a complex analysis at the end of the day. And then the ranking criteria stays the same. That's what you were doing for homework 1. Because of Tafte, I'm not asking for comments. Feel free to give them, but I'm not asking from 10 and 30 words on this one necessarily. If you want to give them feedback, that's fine. That's not, how should I say that? Like I said, I can't think of another way. It's fine to give feedback, but it's not required. So if you don't give feedback, you get the same grade as if you give extra feedback. And again, keep it anonymous and make sure you're not really only showing Spokane, Washington, and that's it. No other city is present. So that's this homework kind of coming up. If you want to use the data set like the previous homework, if you want to add something else to it, like where do I have it? I already closed it. if you want to maybe mark the number of weeks independent of the year, like combine the year and the week, for example, so you have 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way to 62, you can kind of write small things in Excel if you do an equal, and if you know how to do that or find it somewhere, that's fine to modify, to derive additional, just don't add information, but from what is there, you can always derive information. If you want to put increase, decrease for each month, that's also fine. Derive it out. So it's fine to derive additional columns in here as you need to, as you want your visualization to show up. Think of Tafte's principles and try and apply them. Now, if you have two choices, choose the one that gives you the Tafte more, because you get 2 points for it almost automatically. And, make it easy for reviewers to see it, but that's pretty much it. And do it early, because you saw how restrictive Blackboard is with this particular tool. Once it hits, I cannot change it. It's just, there's no way to extend it. There's no way to, it happened many years ago that really Blackboard went down right around the time of the deadline. I didn't have a good way of, I actually reposted the whole thing, and guess what? Some people submitted it once, some people submitted it twice. Some people got back 14 reviews, others got back 7. So it's a mess if it happened, but it only happened once in the last 10 years. And it was an obvious Blackboard fault, because it's system-wide. So that's the homework. I think I'm going to cut it short. I think these are the most important announcements at this point. That should last us through the snowstorm. And I'm going to move on to, let's look at projects, because I have 2 teams that were due today. So let's look at those.